Ahead on News 3 now at 5, Rock County authorities have identified the teenage girl killed in a canoe accident on the Yahara River this weekend. And a man who lost his daughter in Iraq honors her memory at the Capitol this morning.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
5 on your Memorial Day. I'm Charlotte DeLeste. Today is a day to honor our service members who made the ultimate sacrifice. All around the world, people are observing Memorial Day. At the Arlington National Cemetery, Vice President Mike Pence presided over ceremonies like laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. President Trump placed flags on military graves last week before heading to Japan. We'll take a look at how our area is observing Memorial Day in just a moment. But first, let's get a look at your first alert forecast. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti is in the Weather Center. Gary?
Charlotte, it's been an active day over parts of the Midwest, to our west across parts of Iowa and Minnesota, and to our south into the Chicago area. But right now, southern Wisconsin is kind of in between those two areas. There have been some heavier thunderstorms over southeastern Wisconsin. You can see those blue diamonds indicating the potential for thunderstorms that at least could be producing some small hail, and then some showers and thunderstorms trying to develop over parts of southwestern and west central Wisconsin. To our south, there's a tornado watch in effect for the Chicago area. There have been several tornado touchdowns in parts of Iowa and Illinois, and some severe weather moving through parts of Indiana. You can see that there still is a slight risk of severe thunderstorms tonight for areas south of Madison. But temperatures right now are actually warming up to our south and west. Temperatures are in the mid-70s over southwestern Wisconsin, mid-60s here in Madison. The wind shifting to the south might actually warm us up for a bit for a time. Then look for temperatures to drop into the middle 50s as showers and thunderstorms end overnight. Tomorrow, look for a high temperature of 66 with another round of thunderstorms by late afternoon or evening. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
At the state capitol this morning, people gathered to remember the fallen and honor veterans and current members of the military. Hundreds of people flooded the Capitol Rotunda for the ceremony. It started with a VFW Post 1318 band concert. The event also had guest speakers. Those who attended said the ceremony honored every service member, fallen or alive.
My father was a veteran, and obviously I'm a veteran, and we have to keep in mind those people that went before us. That's why we're here.
According to the Madison Veterans Council, more than 200 veterans in Madison have died in the last year. People were also remembering the fallen with a ceremony at the fire station in Fitchburg. The Oregon-Brooklyn American Legion Post 160 Honor Guard led that ceremony. Veteran and current Fitchburg Alder Janelle Rice was the keynote speaker. Fitchburg Mayor Aaron Richardson also spoke during the gathering. Another ceremony today hopes to spread the message of peace on Memorial Day. Members of the organization Madison Area Veterans for Peace hosted a rally this afternoon at the Gates of Heaven Synagogue. The annual event hopes to call light to the cost of war and invite lawmakers to find peaceful ways to solve global conflicts.
Our mission is the abolition of wars, which is a rather ambitious mission.
In addition to the ceremony, the organization has installed a mile-long display with 6,000 simulated grave markers along Atwood Avenue at Olbrich Park. Organizers hope the display brings attention to the ongoing wars around the world. As people from all over our area remember the sacrifices of military members, one man has a very personal connection. Jamie Perez brings us his story and shares his message about what this day means to him.
Memorial Day is about honoring the people who put this country before themselves and die in the line of duty. Today, I spoke with a Gold Star family member who lost his daughter in Iraq in 2007. Kermit Hugo has spent the last 12 Memorial Days at the Capitol helping honor those who have died fighting for our country. Hugo lost his own daughter after she was killed by an explosive device as she was heading out on a mission on October 5th, 2007. His daughter Rachel was a medic, and he said she loved helping people. It's the very reason why she went out on that day. Hugo said the first 7 or so years without her were very tough to get through. Memorial Day has always been special to him since then. It's why he shows up here year after year to honor others like his daughter.
This isn't about, shopping and cookouts or veterans. They have their day. Gold Star families, we have our day. that type of thing. This is a day strictly for remembering our fallen.
Hugo represented all Gold Star families at the ceremony at the Capitol this morning. Coming up tonight at 6, we will hear more from Hugo about the life and loss of his daughter.
More local news now. The Rock County Medical Examiner's Department is identifying the teen killed in a canoeing accident this weekend. 14-year-old Grace Gordon was part of a group of 8 people canoeing on the river when they capsized. Gordon was trapped underwater, pinned between a canoe and submerged log. We spoke to one of the state troopers who responded to the scene. He says he jumped in with no life jacket and held on to what he could to stay afloat while trying to get her free.
As I could to bring her up to the surface, pulled and pulled, but the current was just too strong.
After Gordon was finally free, medics attempted to save her, but it was too late. She later died at the hospital. The other 7 people were brought to shore safely. Preliminary autopsy reports say Gordon died from accidental drowning. The Dodge County Medical Examiner says a Sun Prairie man died in a crash last night. The 24-year-old was driving on Highway 151 near the town of Trenton when he hit another car head-on. The other driver was flown to the hospital, but the other man died at the scene. Authorities say the crash is still under investigation, but alcohol was likely a factor. A Madison woman says she was robbed at gunpoint at a bus stop last night. Police responded to the bus stop near Woodman's on South Gammon Road. The victim, a 29-year-old woman, told officers 2 men, roughly 17 to 20 years old, took her jewelry and cash. Police say, however, that during a follow-up interview, the woman showed inconsistencies with her story, and unconfirmed facts could not be proven with video. Authorities are still looking for the 2 men. A woman was brought to the hospital last night after a man she knew hit her with a baseball bat and damaged her house. Police say the 2 had an argument when the man used the bat to break a window at the home on East Mifflin Street. Once the 2 were outside, he allegedly hit her in the ankle and wrist. She was later released from the hospital with minor injuries. The man is still at large this afternoon and faces reckless endangering safety, disorderly conduct, and damage to property charges. An update to a story we brought to you this weekend. Michigan state authorities say a Good Samaritan reportedly helped get assistant basketball coach Howard Moore's wife out of the deadly fiery wreck that eventually killed her and her daughter. Jennifer Moore was driving Coach Moore, their 2 children, and their dog when a woman hit them head on. Authorities say a Good Samaritan helped Jennifer out of the vehicle and she was airlifted to a hospital. Jennifer later died in the hospital. The Moore's daughter was killed at the scene along with their family dog and the driver who was at fault. Moore and his son are still in the hospital with significant but not life-threatening injuries. Still to come on News 3 now at 5, a man is dead after a shark attack off the coast of Hawaii this weekend. Plus, a devastating tornado in Oklahoma kills at least 2 people in a trailer park. Stay with us. We'll be right back. President Trump is close to wrapping up a 4-day visit to Japan, which both sides have praised, saying the two countries have an unshakable bond. But as Natalie Brand reports from the White House, the president doesn't agree with Japan's prime minister when it comes to some of North Korea's missile tests.
President Trump says he's not concerned with recent North Korea short-range missile tests.
There have been no nuclear tests. There have been no ballistic missiles going out. There have been no long-range missiles going out. And I think that someday we'll have a deal.
And North Korea's short-range missiles are well within reach of Japan, where the president is taking part in a 4-day state visit. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe called the tests regrettable, and the president's own national security advisor, John Bolton, says they violate UN sanctions.
My people think it could have been a violation, as you know. I view it differently. I view it as a man, perhaps he wants to get attention, and perhaps not. Who knows?
On the topic of Joe Biden, President Trump sided with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, who echoed the president's own words in calling the former vice president a low IQ individual.
Well, Kim Jong-un made a statement that Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He probably is, based on his record. I think I agree with him on that.
Overall, President Trump and Prime Minister Abe say the trip has been productive. The president says the two countries could have a new trade agreement by August.
Our goal is to reduce our trade deficit with Japan, remove trade barriers and barriers of all kinds.
And Prime Minister Abe says he's willing to act as a mediator between the U.S. and Iran, something the president says he's open to. Earlier, the president became the first world leader to meet with Japan's newly installed emperor, Naruhito. And he took in a sumo wrestling match over the weekend. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
President Trump will go to the Yokosuka Naval Base tonight to visit sailors before heading home. The mother of the 10-year-old girl from El Salvador who died in federal custody last year says the girl was born with a heart murmur. Doctors told her that her daughter, Darlene Cordova Valle, would need heart surgery. Border Patrol found the girl near the U.S. border in March of last year. She had traveled with acquaintances from El Salvador with the hope of reuniting with her mom, but she was sent to the hospital with chest pains, and her mother says authorities would not give her custody. The girl died in September, but her death was not announced until last week. Darlene is one of 6 migrant children to die in federal custody. Shark warnings are up in Hawaii this morning after a deadly attack. A witness says a shark bit off the leg of Thomas Smiley, a California man who was swimming off the coast of Maui Saturday. He was swimming about 60 yards off the beach. Horrified beachgoers watched as rescuers pulled him out of the water.
Looked unconscious. I saw some blood on his stomach, and it looked like the skin on his wrist was just torn off, and his entire left leg from his knee down was just missing.
First responders tried to resuscitate him, but Smiley died on the scene. Hawaii has the second most unprovoked shark attacks on record in the U.S., sitting only behind Florida. One expert says new laws protecting some large sharks have caused their populations to increase, and swimmers need to be more aware of their surroundings. A tornado devastated El Reno, Oklahoma this weekend. The twister tore through a mobile home park, killing at least 2 people. CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca is in El Reno with the latest.
From the air, you can see the path of destruction of the tornado as it cut through a local motel and shredded mobile homes at this trailer park.
I felt like I was falling or trying to fall off the bed or bouncing.
Sedona Jeans was inside a trailer with her nephew when the tornado blew her home off its foundation and sent her neighbor's home tumbling.
I looked out straight out the window, which was busted, and saw my neighbor's trailer rolling over.
That home was packed with at least a dozen people, including children, but everyone inside survived. 2 people from the trailer park died. Rescue crews searched the debris field Sunday for possible victims buried in the rubble. Amazingly, no one died at the nearby American Budget Value Inn, even though a large section of the 2-story motel was demolished. At least 29 people were injured, some seriously.
It's an all-hands-on-deck situation.
El Reno Mayor Matt White says the city will recover from Mother Nature's 1-2 punch. Just a week ago, floodwaters damaged parts of the town. Now, a tornado.
It's a very trying time for us. Excuse me. And we're going to get through it.
On Sunday, more than 100 miles away from El Reno, outside of Tulsa, the town of Sapulpa was hit by a twister that tore up homes, businesses, and power lines.
It's pretty emotional because a lot of things could have happened that didn't. So I'm just thankful to the Lord this morning for being here.
Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt is expected to survey the damage in El Reno today, but people aren't waiting for any help here. They've already started cleaning up. In fact, the VFW hall just down the road is acting as a shelter. Keep in mind, most of the state is already under a disaster declaration, and there are more storms, severe storms, in the forecast for later on this week. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, El Reno, Oklahoma.
Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joins us now with a look at our forecast. And Gary, nothing severe like that heading over here.
Around here, yes, but not far away. I mean, it was kind of an interesting afternoon so far. What happened was we stayed underneath clouds for much of the afternoon, and that kept our temperatures cool. But where there was a little bit of sunshine, some powerful thunderstorms developed in north central Iowa and then swept into southeastern Minnesota, bringing several tornado reports and quite a bit of damage. And then more severe thunderstorms developed just to our south across Iowa and tracked through Illinois and through the Chicago area and now into northwestern Indiana. But again, staying to our south. So we had severe weather to our west, severe weather to our south, and we were kind of in between. Look at the severe weather reports. These are just very recent reports, some tornado reports from Iowa into Illinois, and then hail and high wind reports through the Chicago area, and then several tornado reports from near Charles City, Iowa, into southeastern Minnesota. In fact, Charles City had extensive damage reported to the Floyd County Fairgrounds as a tornado ripped through there. So that was pretty interesting this afternoon, because that was an area that was in just a marginal risk of severe weather, but everything just kind of came together in a small area, whereas the severe weather threat to the south was much more expected. Now we're seeing the severe weather continue through the Chicago area. There's a tornado watch in effect until 9 o'clock down here, and we've had some thunderstorms move through parts of southern Wisconsin, but right now much of southern Wisconsin is rain-free, or they're just seeing some showers, a couple of isolated thunderstorms. The heavier precipitation is now moving out into Lake Michigan, but we could see a few more thunderstorms develop later on over the next few hours. To the south, now those storms moving out of the Chicago area, moving through northern Indiana, several tornado warnings in effect there. So the severe weather isn't over with for much of the area to our south. The slight risk of severe thunderstorms goes just into far southern Wisconsin, a marginal risk into the Madison area, and then to the north, no severe weather is expected for tonight. Tomorrow, pretty much the same story. A slight risk of severe thunderstorms over southwestern Wisconsin, a marginal risk to the Madison area. A lot of it will depend on how much heating we get in the afternoon. Right now, temperatures are forecast to stay on the cool side, and that would keep the severe weather threat farther to the south. And even on Wednesday, there's a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms to our south, but right now that stays out of southern Wisconsin. Rain is another issue. Over the last 5 days, generally 1 to 2 inches of rain with pockets of 2 inches or more in the red shaded areas. Over the next 5 days, we're expecting the possibility for another anywhere from ½ inch to 1.5 inches of rain over southern Wisconsin, with heavier amounts staying mainly to the south across parts of northern Illinois. So we do have an alert day in the forecast for tonight into tomorrow for the possibility for isolated strong to severe thunderstorms that could produce heavy downpours along with gusty winds, hail, and maybe even an isolated tornado near the Illinois state line. Live view from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville, pretty ominous there, but not much in the way of rain. The WISC Skycam looking pretty gray out to the west, and the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison showing mostly cloudy skies. The almanac for today shows it was a cool day. Our high temperature only at 65, the low 55, and right now we're sitting at 64 degrees. Our forecast for tonight calls for showers and thunderstorms mainly this evening. Some areas of fog overnight with a low 56. Tomorrow, look for a high temperature of 66. Thunderstorm chances probably will hold off until late in the day. So much of the day after these showers and storms move out tonight, we'll just see some fog tonight. Much of the day tomorrow, cloudy but dry, and then thunderstorms move in tomorrow night and then move on out for Wednesday, although a few could pop up during the day on Wednesday. Might be a little warmer with high temperatures in the lower 70s. Heaviest rains down near the Illinois state line and farther south. To the north, not as much rain. And as we look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, notice those temperatures at least back into the low to mid 70s as we head toward next weekend. The rain chance is also a little more spotty. As we take a look at first alert traffic right now, things are actually pretty quiet for a holiday. Not seeing any problems on the Beltline right now. We're not seeing any problems on the interstate around Madison. 15-minute travel in either direction between University Avenue and the interstate on the Beltline, and heading out of Madison, going down to Janesville. Now all that traffic heading back toward Chicago. 42 minutes from the Beltline to Janesville on I-3990, but 17 minutes to Sauk City on US 12 and 15 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151 and East Washington Avenue. That's your News 3 Now First Alert traffic.
Thank you, Gary. Still to come on News 3 Now at 5, a national effort is trying to get rid of the so-called widow tax. We'll tell you what it's about when we come back. There's a new effort in Congress to help families of America's fallen service members get the benefits they say they deserve. The problem is what's called the widow's tax, and this Memorial Day, it's being thrust back into the spotlight. Ed O'Keefe has one widow's story.
He wanted to make the world a better place so that his sons would have a better life.
When Tracy Volke's husband, Army Major Paul Volke, was killed in action 7 years ago, she not only had to deal with losing her spouse, she also had to worry about her family's financial future.
There's an archaic rule on the books that if you get money from the VA, that money offsets any money that's paid by the DOD.
A widow can get roughly $1,300 a month tax-free from a compensation fund run by the VA if they agree not to hold the government responsible for their spouse's death. Some also get a payment from a Defense Department survivor's benefit plan that their deceased spouse had paid into. But the 1972 law that launched the Pentagon program blocks some of these families from collecting from both funds. Instead, for every dollar a spouse gets from the VA, they lose $1 of survivor benefits from the Pentagon. It's known as the widow's tax. Tracy said she's missed out on $1,300 every month for 7 years. That's more than $100,000.
I think part of the reason why my husband served was he knew that if something were to happen, we'd be taken care of.
Now, Democratic Senator Doug Jones of Alabama and Republican Susan Collins of Maine are leading a bipartisan campaign to fix the problem. More than 70 senators support the plan. Hundreds of members in the House back a similar idea.
This is a case of tremendous unfairness. We have an obligation not only to the service members, but to their families.
People have talked to us, and they've expressed that anger, and they're right. They should be angry. Hey, how are you?
It's good to see you.
Kathy Milford lost her husband more than 25 years ago and has been dealing with the widow's tax ever since.
I mean, it's been pretty amazing the way this is going.
3 years ago, she decided it was time to start lobbying Congress.
It's very difficult for me because I have to keep telling about my husband died, my husband died, my husband died. And I would rather talk about our life together rather than talking about his death.
After so many years, the current fight to fix the problem might finally be paying off.
I'm hoping this Memorial Day that people call their congressmen and the people at the DOD can kind of listen to our stories and see that we're not just a bill. This isn't just a bill that you have to pay. This is a cost of war, and this is what our families are owed.
The Pentagon says that eliminating the so-called tax would cost approximately $6 billion a year, but with some other fixes being made to cut taxes on benefits paid to the children of fallen service members exposed by recent changes in tax law, Congress seems eager to also fix this problem that's lingered far longer. Another check of weather when we come back. Gary's here with a final check.
Well, we're watching some showers and a few thunderstorms over parts of the area. Most of the rain has been in the northern parts of our viewing area, getting some heavy downpours up in Marquette County. You got a report from one of our viewers up there, and a lot of the heavier thunderstorms now moving out over Lake Michigan. Temperatures right now, mid-60s in Madison, warmer to our south and west, but cooler to the north and east as a warm front comes through. Notice those temperatures at least back in the 70s for much of the time after tomorrow.
All right, we'll see you back here at 6.